Hey Reno Rodeo fans, and welcome back to Reno Rodeo 365. I'm your host Jen Fisk, bringing to you another episode with information as we count down the days to the wildest, richest rodeo in the West. And the countdown is on. We are 58 days away from Reno Rodeo 2024, and I'm so excited to rub some dirt on it. If you missed last month's episode of Reno Rodeo 365, we were at the Reno Rodeo Hall of Fame induction dinner. We caught up with all the inductees and learned a little bit more about Reno Rodeo history. If you missed that, go check it out on Reno Rodeo Facebook or YouTube pages. We sit down with Wyatt Denny, Nevada cowboy, 3-time NFR bareback riding qualifier, and a local. We are so excited to learn from him everything you need to, want to, or should know about professional rodeo life and life on the road. Check out this episode right here, right now of Reno Rodeo 365.
Wyatt Denny, come on. Here you go, hometown talent. Yeah. Oh my God, is he riding good? Woo! Out 83.5 last night. Ladies and gentlemen, Nevada's gonna look good on the big board. 86 points.
I feel good.
Oh, he feels good.
I knew that I wouldn't.
There is nothing in the world like riding in front of your home state crowd. He is pumped up and feeling good.
So good.
Well, that's going to put him and Cooper Cook. Him and Cooper Cook tied at the top. Wyatt Denny, Cooper Cook, 169.5.
I'm pleased to be sitting at the Reno Rodeo Arena behind the chutes with none other than bareback rider Wyatt Denny, a Nevada native and 3-time NFR qualifier. Wyatt, you joined the PRCA in 2015. Walk us through just a little bit of how you got that start and what brought you here today, and then of course we'll dive into the rest.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to be here today with you. So pretty much how I got into PRCA rodeo, you have to be 18 years old and you can buy what's called your permit, and you have to win $1,000 on your permit, and then that basically shows the PRCA that you're capable of winning money at professional rodeos. And then you basically buy your card, which is when you turn professional. And I bought my card the second year I'd rodeoed on my permit, just to kind of test out the waters, see what it was about. I was also in school at the time, but really just getting into PRCA rodeo and into pro rodeo, I like to call it the stepping stones. So I started off in junior rodeo. I started actually here at the Reno Rodeo riding sheep in the mutton busting, back in whenever, 1999 or 98, somewhere in there. And then I, started riding saddle horses and doing the, dummy roping and stuff like that. And then you basically go from riding sheep to calves to mini bulls to bulls. And then, at that time, by the time you're riding bulls, you're old enough to be in high school rodeo, and you kind of test the waters with all the events. And I grew up doing every event except saddle bronc riding. So, I had a lot of opportunity to do a lot of rodeo itself, but also hone in on my athletic side with, team roping and bulldogging and riding bulls. I feel like it all just gave me, horsemanship. It gave me a center of balance, core strength. All that stuff comes into play when you get into riding bucking horses and the strength it takes to riding bucking horses. But I just started at a really young age and just kept doing those stepping stones. So I went from junior high rodeo, went to the junior high finals in Gallup, New Mexico. I did that 3 or 4 times. And then I went from there to the High School Rodeo Association, and I high school rodeoed all 4 years. I did every event except bronc riding, went to the high school finals all 4 years. Then I, had multiple offers for scholarships for full ride offers at for college. So I went and toured all the colleges, ended up going to Carthage, Texas, and Panola County, and really honed in my bareback riding there. I was rodeoing at this time. I was 18, so I had bought my card or my permit at this time. So I was rodeoing full time, professionally rodeoing, getting on bucking horses, every Thursday, Friday, and then I would go to a college rodeo Saturday, Sunday. So I was riding bucking horses really hard when I went to school, and just, like I said, really honed it in there, going to school, going to college. And then I came back here after 2 years down there and went to Quincy, Feather River, California for a year.
Nice and local. Yeah,
exactly. And I graduated from Quincy, California with my bachelor's in ag business. And then I went to the college rodeo finals for Quincy and Jesse Segura, and I'd won the college finals, the title for the bareback riding in 2015. And then the same year I was pro rodeoing full time. I had bought my card, and I had won the rookie of the year, the Resist All Rookie of the Year, and that was in 2015 as well. And then in 2016 I made my first NFR, and then followed 17 and 18 as well. But and I come to the Reno Rodeo every year. It's one of the biggest rodeos that the PRCA has as far as money added and stock, and just the atmosphere and everything about Reno Rodeo draws a lot of contestants here just for the rodeo itself, just because it's so prestigious and cool. But I come to the Reno Rodeo every year. It's one of my bucket list ones to win. I've been very close about 3 times now, and I've had a little heck in the short round. So really looking to capitalize on it this year.
Yeah, well, we're hopeful for you. We'll, get you those silver spurs at some point. It's only an honor that you're from Nevada and that you're riding here. You mentioned winning Rookie of the Year and then 2 NFR back-to-back qualifications so early on in your career. What does it feel like? What's the pressure that you feel that you have to uphold when it comes to starting off the gate or out the gate with such success?
Yeah, definitely. Rodeo for me, I've always been very successful in rodeo. I just have a good athletic background as far as rodeoing. I also grew up ski racing, so I have a lot of, adrenaline side of me with motorcycles and stuff like that, which, fueled me to ride bareback horses. So I was very successful right off the bat because I had been putting all the work in all the years, all the time, early when I was a kid. So I took all those bumps and bruises real quick and easy and healed from it. And, when I made my first NFR, it was, it's this feeling of like pure joy and achievement that you've done. You've set out to do what you've been dreaming of doing since you were a little kid, watching the NFR, sitting on the couch, but just as far as making that first NFR and then coming back to it, I made it, 3 times consecutively, and it does play a good head game with you, just as far as, that you can be in that position, and that you can win at those big rodeos. So that kind of plays a little head game. But it's the thing about being a bareback rider is you have to keep it simple, stupid. You got to be dumb when it comes to it, short-term memory, forget what had happened in the past. Don't try to
can't let last season affect this season.
Exactly. So every horse I go into, I take every horse with a fresh breath of air. I don't go into it expecting anything but greatness when it comes to the outcome. So nothing ever changes that side of it, but it's definitely more into play with trying to stay out of your head nowadays, because I know I should be there. I know I'm a multiple NFR qualifier. I know I should be at these rodeos doing good. So you just have to know that your body is capable of doing it, and let your muscle memory take over and just keep your head out of it.
Absolutely. And a lot of our viewers and a lot of rodeo fans in general don't necessarily realize that this is a sport where you as the cowboy pay to play. You don't get paid to play like we see in the NFL or the NHL or basketball. So can you talk us a little bit about how the, budgeting comes down to it, the earning side of things, and maybe what you do on the side to supplement the cost of traveling?
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, we have an entry fee. It's a set entry fee based on how much money is added at the rodeo specifically. So if it's anywhere between, this is, just off the top of my head, but if it's a $500 added rodeo to a $5,000 added rodeo, it's about $75. And then if you go up to like the Reno rodeos, up in like the $30,000, $40,000 added, could be more than that. I could be wrong, but their entry fee goes up based just on the prices of how much money's added. So it could be anywhere averaging $150 per rodeos. So,
and that's just your entry fee.
And that's just your entry fee. And then a percentage of that goes towards the pot, and then the other percentage of it, I think it's like $10 from each entry fee, goes towards the office fee for the office. And so basically, when you enter a rodeo, you're gambling your money against your other competitors' money, right? It goes in towards the pot, goes in towards the added money. And if you, in our business, your dancing partner is your horse, and that's half your points. So possible 100 points, 50 per horse, 50 per the rider. When it comes down to, well, I have to pay $175 to go get on that horse, is that horse going to make me more money than $175? And especially in my sport, in my discipline, bareback riding, our body is our tool. Not saying that bull riders and bronc riders and team ropers aren't, their bodies are their tools, but for us, it's just so much more high impact and such a higher, injury rate. So when it comes down to, should you get on that horse or shouldn't you get on that horse, it's all about if you can win on the horse. And that's just basically the money side of it when it comes to, should I pay to get down the road, pay to fly down to that rodeo, pay for eating, pay for an Uber, whatever it takes to get to the rodeo? Is it all worth it? In the end of the day, it comes down to, is the bucking horse going to make it worthwhile? Now, for most guys, we rodeo, they limit us to 100 rodeos. So from September 30th to from October 1st to September 30th, you have to be in the top 15 in the world to go to the NFR. Well, they limit you to 100 rodeos. So in those 100 rodeos, you want to be specific towards your game plan, towards which rodeos you should go to and which ones you shouldn't go to, just as far as your body, your travel expenses, and then of course the horses, if they're good enough to go to.
Well, and there's on and off seasons. We know toward the end of the year, or I guess the start of the season, what we think of as the end of the calendar year can be a little bit slower. But then, like you had mentioned before, you're heading out on a spring run of back-to-back rodeos for the next few months. So really the wear and tear on your body, I'm sure, plays a huge factor.
Oh yeah, big time. Especially when it comes to that 100 rodeos. So if you think about Cowboy Christmas, it's in July. The Reno Rodeo kicks it off June, the end of June, all the way through the whole month of July. There's hundreds of rodeos to go to. So you have to be smart come the wintertime. Well, can I go get on 30, 40 head of bucking horses and be peaking come the summertime and slowly, descending to the end of the year, where if you're peaked and it's not even June yet, you're not going to be riding good all through the summer months because your body has been so much through a toll. So that's why I like to rodeo, go to about 10 or 8 or 10 rodeos during the wintertime, go to the big ones, just Fort Worth, Houston, San Antonio, Mercedes, go to these ones that are all within that little Texas area, and just stay really low key when it comes to that. And then all of April and May, I'm back home going to what's called my circuit rodeos. So I'll break into a little bit more of the circuit side of stuff when it comes to the PRCA. So PRCA is basically the broad umbrella of what we do. Every rodeo we go to is a PRCA sanctioned rodeo. Now, Reno Rodeo is in Nevada, but the United States is broken into 12 different sections all across the United States.
United States and Canada. So the PRCA, Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, we do include rodeos in Canada. And like you said, there's 12 circuits. I think there may have increased it to 13 now. And every state is a part of a different one. Some states have their own individual, like Texas and California, because they're so large and have so many rodeos. And Nevada's a part of the wilderness, which is Nevada, Utah, and parts of southern Idaho. So they're clustered and there's requirements. So you can't just do 100 rodeos in Texas. You're limited to this count. So
well, technically, if you wanted to, you could go to 100 rodeos in Texas, because I'm sure they have 100 rodeos. But per your circuit, so wherever your address is, wherever you live, wherever you get your mail, you can claim that circuit. So if you're in Oregon, that would be the Columbia circuit that goes across Oregon and a little bit of Idaho. Now the wilderness circuit, which Reno's in, it goes up the state of Nevada and Utah. So you can go to as many rodeos as you want all over the country, but you have to get, which is each circuit's different, but in my circuit, it's 15 rodeos that are specific California rodeos in the state of California. Now, those 15 rodeos alone have their own standings. So we have a world standings, which is the United States and Canada. Every rodeo you go to, every dollar you win goes towards a $1 in the standings. So they have the whole PRCA world standings, and then each circuit, so the California, the Wilderness, the Columbia circuit, Texas, all the way across the United States, they have their own standings. So
most people know the world standings as the National Finals Rodeo in Las Vegas, the Super Bowl of rodeos, the end of the year celebration, and now here we are with 13 circuits, so 13 other finals and opportunities of rodeo throughout the year.
Yeah, exactly. And then it also basically segregates rodeo cowboys and cowgirls to the specific rodeos, and it keeps other, contestants out of those rodeos per se. So there could be a $5,000 rated circuit rodeo in California. Well, there's also a $5,000 rated circuit rodeo in Texas. The Texas guy is going to go to the Texas rodeo versus going all the way to California. So it keeps the rodeos, the littler rodeos, it keeps them more segregated to just circuit cowboys, and then you're competing against those circuit guys that are in those standings for the year end. And on top of that, another little thing with the business side of things, the rodeo circuit, the circuit count and the money that you win in the circuit counts for the next year world standing. So you go to your 15 rodeos in California that all count for the California Circuit Finals. Then you go to your Circuit Finals, which ours is over New Year's. You win $4,000 or $5,000 at the Circuit Finals. That counts towards 2025 world standings the next year. So you want to go to these 12 rodeos, and you want to go to these rodeos that are just circuit people, because you go to your circuit finals, then you win that extra little $5,000-$6,000. It starts your year. You went to one rodeo and you were already $6,000 ahead of guys that you didn't even have to compete against.
So speaking of competing against competitors, they're in your circuit, you see them on the road, or you don't see them very often. How is it in a sport where you're paying to be there, but you're competing against these guys, yet we see you behind these chutes, you're helping each other get your gear on, which we'll go through this miraculous bag of equipment here soon. You're helping each other out, you're supportive of each other, but you just got bucked off and they're getting an 85-point ride. So how does that work? I know it's another mind game.
Yeah, no, for sure. With rodeo people, we're not competing against each other. We're competing against the animal and basically yourself in the long run. So when it comes down to it, you're not really competing against the person themselves. And B, I fly from here to, Kansas, and my truck and rig and everything is here in Nevada. Well, I have buddies and my Bareback fellow competitors, they're also there in Kansas. Wherever I'm at, I rely on them for rides. And then same thing when they fly over here or wherever I'm at, and they're needing a ride, they rely on me. So when it comes to, being cordial with each other and being more of, a family, a tight-knit group versus competitors against each other, it really matters, because you really rely on each other a lot when it comes to travel especially.
All right, we're talking about gear. Let's dive into this bag. I know on a bareback horse, some people, if you're far away, depending on where you're sitting at a rodeo, you may not know, but these guys are on nothing but a riggin. There's no saddle. It's just them and the horse, hence the term bareback riding. But there's obviously a system and a science behind staying on. Unfortunately, we don't have a horse in the chute today to demo, but I'm sure you've done this before. So tell us everything we need to know about how you stay on. And as you mentioned, it's a 50-50 split when it comes to points. 50% of those points come from you and 50 from the horse. So you have to do everything you can to make your style of riding impressive to those judges.
Right, absolutely. So when it comes down to the riding style of the guys, they're looking for the spur stroke, which this is your bareback rigging, and this sits right between your legs. And those judges are looking for your feet to come basically where they're sitting right now in the horse's neck, all the way to the top of your handle and then back down. So that's your 50% of the 50 points. And then the horse, when they're judging the horse, they're looking at how hard that horse gets off the ground, how hard that horse kicks up vertical, and how aggressive and strong they look when it comes to how hard their shoulders drop and stuff. That's the other 50 points. So Now, when it comes down into the gear of how do you basically hold on, this is your bareback rigging, and this is basically the handle. It's a hard rawhide, looks like a suitcase handle is how they always compare it.
It does look sturdy. I can verify.
Very. It's pretty hard. This is a new one. This one's only been on about maybe seven or eight horses, so it looks all pretty new still. But
is it something you have to break in, like a new pair of shoes or a saddle, or is it custom made to fit your hand? And
so how you get this is, when you order this from Barstow Pro Rodeo, it comes to you and it's completely bare. The strap isn't in there, this pad isn't on there, this leather. Underneath this is what we use as a plumber's epoxy, and you basically just take it and you rub it together like putty, and it comes real hard over about 20-30 minutes, and you just, little art project, you make a little flat shelf here, and basically how you set this up right here and how you shave your handle down and everything is exactly how the inside of your hand is and how the outside of your hand looks. So when it comes down to how your hand stays in, that's all from me creating this to match the glove. Now when it comes to the glove holding you in the rigging physically, these are called tits, is what we call them. So this is a knuckle lock, and this is your main tit. Some guys ride a top tit, but for me,
I gotta feel this. This is not your standard glove. That would do some damage.
Yeah. So this is literally, it's this hard leather body right here. My buddy took and cut a little square and then shaved this into what's called your back tit, and so this is literally rock hard. You could hit this on ice and it would break it. But anyways, how it works is this peak right here and this ledge right here match up to your hand. So when I run my hand into my rigging, it's tight. It's already really tight, squeezing my hand. And when I grab that rigging handle and squeeze it and roll my hand back around to get into that good, comfortable position where my hand can squeeze that handle, and my wrist isn't like this, it's like this. So when you look right here, that back tit hits that block right there, and then that knuckle lock matches up with that epoxy I made. So
that is the perfect fit. I mean, there's not a lot of wiggle room, and your hand's not going anywhere.
No, so when it comes to bareback riding and keeping your hand in, a couple things. So your hand can only come in and out this side of the horse and the rigging. So if you're on your rigging and the horse throws you and you get tossed to this side, your hand is stuck, and it's called being hung up. Your hand will not come out until you get your elbow all the way over and you can rip your hand out that way. Now,
which is a lot of time where the picket men come in and help, but when that's not the case and you're getting thrown around like a rag doll, a term, it sounds scary, and it probably is, to your point of liking adrenaline in a situation like that. What are you thinking about?
Yes, it's a worse situation you could be in. Well, let me back it up. Being hung up is better than your hand coming out while you ride, because then you go out the back end and the horse kicks you, and then who knows what could happen. At least when you're hung up, you're tied to the animal. But in my instances of being hung up, because every bareback rider, world champion, it doesn't matter who you are, you've been hung up. So for me, it is just a super state of just zen. I'm just very calm, very, very focused on my breathing, making sure that I'm just not overexerting myself so I don't, pass out or whatever, because it's so much adrenaline is going on, and your head can literally pop off. There's so much blood rushing through your body.
So in the next time you're feeling overwhelmed and overworked, just remember being hung up in the state of zen you're in, and realizing, the weather in town or missing a rodeo, it's not that bad.
Exactly, yeah.
So is it safe to say that most bareback riders, maybe even most rough stock riders, have broken a wrist, a finger, dislocated a shoulder when it comes to some of the more common injuries?
Oh, absolutely. Bareback riding, rodeo is very unpredictable in any, discipline, whether it be bull riding, bronco riding, team roping, doesn't matter. It's all very dangerous. There's a sense of, unknown when it comes to it. But as far as, when you're in the spot like that, yeah, you just have to you got to make sure that you're in a good state of, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to get through this, but really just try to stay on your feet and try to stay, ready for the pickup man to stop that horse.
So we've got your rigging, you put it on the horse. What else is in the bag? What else is a go-to when it comes to the gear you travel with? It's nice that I would say it seems you travel light as a bareback rider compared to some of the other sports in rodeo, but there is more in this bag.
Yeah, no, absolutely. For anybody that wants to know, this bag weighs exactly 49.5 pounds because they only let you fly 50. But for the most part...
So Southwest, he's under regulations. Yeah. Sponsor him.
Yeah, exactly. Hit me up. But what we got going on here, so with bareback riding, the protective gear isn't as big as bull riding. So with bull riders, they wear big protective vests, helmets, protect them from concussions, from getting stepped on. For bareback riding, it's more about how much, lighter you can be and more of, a tick on their back. Where you put a helmet on your head, there's so much G-force going back, it'll pop your head right off. So the only protective gear that we wear is basically, this is our arm brace, and how this works, it's a, orthotic from Canada, and it's all specifically, this is molded to my arm. And how this works is when you put it on your arm, you take athletic tape, and you just take that athletic tape. I'd put it underneath my shirt, but just to show you, it goes on like this, and you get it taped on with athletic tape, and you create what we call our X's. So we take it's like a elasticon, it's like a vet wrap stuff, and we come from here to here, and it creates an X, so our arm won't extend this way to hyperextend our elbow. Now what the brace is doing is stopping your elbow from bending like this. So it's stopping your elbow from bending this way.
The opposite direction.
Yeah, so
which would be very bad.
Oh yeah, because I've seen, back in the day in 2004, 2005, before guys rode these, guys, I'd see pictures and they'd be, spurred back, their feet would be past their head, and their arm, you could zoom in on their arm and it would literally look like a banana bent this way, because the force of you grabbing that rigging and pushing your hips into it and prying your arm over your hip, basically, it takes this and it bends your elbow. So this protects your elbow basically from, the bending part of it. And then when it comes to, you always want to make sure you got a good pair of boots. These are custom boots. I have a, custom boot maker out of Reno here that builds all my boots. So they're really, fit exactly to my foot. So I really like that. And then another piece of our, safety equipment, this is your neck roll. So how this basically goes on is, well, what it basically does is it stops your head from hyperextending over the horse's butt when they kick.
And is this a required piece, or no? Let us know what's required and what's kind of optional. I know, of course, helmets and hats is optional. If you wanted to wear one, you probably could, but style-wise, cowboy hats look great in the arena. But for bulls, like you said, it makes sense to have a helmet on. Yeah,
so the only required equipment is basically a 5-point rowel, which I'll show you here on my spurs. So they can only have 5 points. They can't have 6 points on them, and there can't be basically anything hanging off of this. Some guys use baling wire right here. I just use like a leather strap. So that could poke the horse, As far as the necessaries, glove, rigging, spurs, you have to have those. You wouldn't be able to ride without them.
And the judges are great. Do they inspect the gear? Because I know with spurs there are rules and regulations when it comes to riding in any of the disciplines. But for bareback riding, as you mentioned, nothing hanging off. The rowel has to be blunted, nothing sharp that could hurt the animal. So do the judges inspect that, or is it just something that the rules, you're not going to jeopardize yourself in a situation by breaking them?
Yeah, no, the judges will never really look at your gear as far as your equipment, what you have style-wise. But for the most part, you can't even find a 6-point rowel, and if you did ride one, it wouldn't do anything really to the animal unless you were, really, really super strong with your feet and you were, hitting them a little bit late. It might poke them, but as far as it goes with the equipment, they never really look at it. It's all just, up to your own discretion with how you set your stuff up and how it goes, that side of things. But it's all very custom. Like, this stuff is very custom towards me and my, my arm, my neck, my hand, my, everything with my equipment is all very customized to me. But
so how long does it take to get it together? You get to a rodeo, whether you're on time or you're late, I'm sure your pre-rodeo routine is relatively the same. So when it comes to getting everything together, ready, headspace down to your armband, what time frame would you put on a preparation?
So I always show up to the rodeo. I like to be there no later than an hour and a half. Usually, that hour and a half period, I, get dressed, throw my button up on, my sponsor shirt on, get out, grab my rigging bag, get back behind the buck and chutes. About that time, I'm looking at about an hour 15. I'll mingle a little bit, say what's up to all the boys, and then, the first thing I do every time I ever get to a rodeo, I'm very creature of habit. So I make sure that everything I do is always the same. That way, when I get to the spot, I'm not thinking about what do I got to do next. I do everything the same every time, and it creates a good habitual routine I have. So when I get to the rodeo, the first thing I do is I pull my glove out of my bag in my rigging. It's the first thing I grab. Weather-wise, I could be in Reno today and I could be in Florida tomorrow. So,
and Reno today could be snow, rain, wind. You never know what you're going to get.
And the weather affects your rigging very dramatically with humidity and not having humidity. So you're over in Florida, everything is humid and it's swole up, and your glove is like soft as a work glove. Where I come over here, everything gets shrunken down, everything is tight, harder, stiffer. So the first thing I do is I always run my hand into my rigging to make sure, okay, can I squeeze that thing as hard as I can, and is it going to stay in there for this 8 seconds while I rear back on it and basically try to rip it out of there? So I run my hand in, make sure it all fits. Yep. I sit there for, a couple seconds pondering. Yep, that feels good. All right, I like it. I take my hand out, and then the next thing I do is I put on my compression shorts, my pants, throw on my boots, and I have a little kettlebell right here that I fill with dirt. It's got a little fill line, and it's, like 30 pounds. I'll go fill it up with some dirt, and I'll get into my warm-up routine, which is all off the kettlebell there, and a bunch of hip swings, shoulder presses, stuff like that. And then I come back, usually go to the sports med, say hi to all the sports med, grab some tape back here, kind of get into my little zen state, get into my headspace, start taping my arm, really start thinking about, this stuff I do in my head. I do that stuff right then. I really focus in on that. And then I tape my arm. The last thing I do is after I tape my arm, I put my spurs on. So I basically just take this strap off. I kick it onto my boot heel. I take this underneath my heel, strap it on. These are a one pole system here. You don't have to do a bunch of little twists with big leather straps. So this is the last thing I put on. I tighten my spurs down. I tuck my pants in, I grab my rigging, my straps, I head over to the buck and shoot to get ready to strap my rigging on. And then, from there, I just stay really, really relaxed, really calm, really trust in the process. And just, from that point, I flip the switch into basically, making sure that I'm very grateful for everything. I'm making sure that I'm in the moment every time I get on. I love everything, thank everybody that's helping. I just really, get into that state at that little, extra 15 minutes before I ride, and just really gets me grounded. And then I just get in there, no thoughts in my mind, crack my hand back and nod my head.
And you mentioned 8 seconds. I want to kind of hone in on what 8 seconds really is, because to some people it sounds great. You see a cowboy win, maybe there's 2 zeros at the end of that number, thousands of dollars walking away. Oh, it must be nice to win that kind of money in 8 seconds. But to your point, you're working 24/7. You are your own travel agent, accountant, trainer, physician, nutritionist. I know you have support. I know sponsors are out there. I know you mentioned the guys helping each other when you go, but at the end of the day, it really is, a one-man show on the road. So can you talk just a little bit about what 8 seconds is to you in the arena, but then really what it comes down to, win or lose, when you walk away?
Yeah, no, the 8 seconds is just like, the little cherry on top. That's not even the work process. That's by the time I get there and I nod my head, I've already put in, 70, 80 hours that week just doing bareback stuff. And then, on top of that, I still have other things that I do, but that's, my majority. Every day I wake up, that's the first thing I do is how do I make myself a better bareback rider, focusing on my, weaknesses. But for the most part, just to get into the bareback riding itself there's thousands of dollars in gear right here. Just my boots alone, those are custom made boots. They could be, thousands of dollars. The rigging alone is $1,000. The glove is, $500. By the time you get your spurs, your setup, the brace is $1,000. You have so much into it that you want to make sure that when you show up to the rodeo, you're not just putting all this stuff to waste, you're putting it to work, right? So you put in the work throughout the week with my diet, with my working out. I work out every day. I, eat healthy as I can. I cook all my own foods when I'm on the road, so by the time I get to the rodeo, I don't want to be thinking about winning. I don't want to be thinking about, I have to win to pay back what I put into my equipment. At that moment, I'm just thinking about, enjoying the ride and loving the moment. But yeah, to get to that point, it does take a lot of money and time and effort, sweat and tears to get to the position that I'm in. So kicking it back onto the pressure side of things, that puts a little bit of pressure on you just to, to produce. I want to be a producer when it comes to, making sure that my career is furthering itself. But to get to that point, it takes a lot of time and effort and money, especially nowadays. It could cost me, anywhere between $200 to $300 to fill up my truck to drive, 700 miles maybe. So just to get to the rodeos, there's a lot of money involved. But, my sponsorships, as far as that goes, and my endorsements, I'm always looking for new sponsors and new endorsements to help me get down the road. Anything helps. But, for my main sponsors, Resistol, Wrangler, the Reno Rodeo, Capri Campers, they really support me as far as, getting me down the road a little bit with money. And then, all the clothes I wear, all sponsored by Wrangler. My hat's Resistol hat, and that stuff is awesome because I wear a Wrangler and Resistol hat and all that stuff every day of my life. So it takes a lot of the expense out when it comes to even clothing, putting clothes on yourself. You don't realize, man, those are $70 pair of jeans. And
and I'm sure you run through jeans covered in dirt. You got dry cleaning. You want to look nice. Things rip. You're around bucking horses. So when it comes to the sponsorship side of stuff, I'm always looking for new sponsorships. And, when it comes to being a professional cowboy and a professional athlete, we're professional athletes. We wake up every day and we try to further ourselves to be better, and that's what an athlete does. But when it comes to the rodeo athlete, there's so much more opportunity for athletes when it comes to sponsorships that most companies don't realize, because they don't think of us as a big broad spectrum of being seen. But for rodeo cowboys, I live on the road 260 days out of the year. I'm on the road in my truck and camper, so I'm a moving billboard. I'm at little Podunk, Pumpkin Roller, Kansas to Reno Rodeo, and every one of my sponsor shirts, it represents what the companies are and who they are. So they have a lot of available reach with a cowboy than most people would expect. So absolutely. I mean, you've got your truck has opportunity, the camper, yourself, you're a walking billboard, the people you talk to, and I'm sure rodeo fans appreciate that too, to your point of putting on a performance and then you putting in the work personally as an athlete to really make what we see in the arena shine. Where can we see you coming down the road? Where can people follow you on social media and sponsors that can reach out?
Yeah, so on Facebook, it's just Wyatt Denny, just my name on there. And then on Instagram, it's Wyatt Denny 22. And yeah, I post almost, if not daily, weekly, I post, for my sponsors, or just little insights of, when I show up to the rodeo of, just the guys behind the buck and shoots, you'll get a little clips of that, and, workout routines that I do, and just the way I eat. Is I do a really good insight of, the behind the scenes. So on my Instagram especially, it's a lot easier than Facebook is for that side of, being more personalized with people. So if you do follow me on Instagram and stuff, you'll really get to see the insides of my life. And the other thing for sponsors that rodeo guys are kind of, stuck to is they're stuck to rodeos where they're only getting their sponsor, the company is only getting seen at the rodeos, where me, I am very athletic and I do a lot of adrenaline stuff. So, I'm skiing, I'm mountain biking, I'm racing dirt bikes, I'm racing mountain bikes,
You sound like every parent's worst nightmare. Was your mom terrified of you growing up as a child?
Oh yeah, she still is. But yeah, no, so there's, for my point of view, I feel like I have a lot more reach and a broader, spectrum towards helping people's businesses, get seen more, because I have a lot more in my ballpark of area of places that I go. And that's what I show on my social media is, my lifestyle of how I eat, live, sleep, do all that. So
where will we see you in the next coming months? I know it's April now, the spring run's coming. Reno Rodeo is only a few months away, but between now and June, where can we follow you around?
Yeah, so basically right now, all of April and May, I'm going to be basically back home rodeoing at a Minden there, going to my California circuit rodeos. But this next weekend, I'm going to go to Logandale, Nevada, West Valley, Utah, Oakdale, California. Then the following weekend, I'm going to go to Red Bluff. And then, yeah, probably go from there, a couple little other rodeos in Oregon, and then the Reno Rodeo. And then from there, we're gone. We're adios. We're hitting the road hard, and it's just a gas pedal down from there.
There we go. Well, we hope that in June when we see you here, we can wave goodbye to you with a beautiful pair of silver spurs, hoping that you can take that title this year and rub some dirt on it at the Reno Rodeo. Wyatt, thank you so much for coming. The best mustache in pro rodeo. Honestly, I've got to say, that's incredible. So that alone, put a sponsorship on some beard oil. Look at that thing. Wyatt, thank you. We wish you the best of luck, and we appreciate it. Of course, being a Nevada cowboy, we're always rooting for you, but you're such a genuine person. You love this sport, and the sport loves you back. So we appreciate your time and best of luck.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Welcome back. Whether you're a seasoned rodeo fan or you're new to the sport, I hope you learned something valuable from that interview. Thank you so much, Wyatt Denny, for taking the time to sit down with us and explain some of the nitty-gritty of what happens in the sport of professional rodeo. And whether you're a cowboy or a cowgirl, these athletes work day in and day out, and they're not always guaranteed a paycheck, especially if they're injured. That's something that we didn't get a chance to touch on. So you can support them whether they're in or out of the arena by following them on their social medias, follow them along the rodeo road, and support them by purchasing from the companies that sponsor them. That's just one way that you can help our athletes. And of course, come to the Reno Rodeo. Whether they walk away with money, it's a silent arena out there without your applause. So we need the energy, we need the activity. We can't wait to see you in June. Tickets are on sale now, June 20th to 29th. And of course, tickets to the Reno Rodeo kickoff concert. Russell Dickerson, we're so excited to start the best 10 days of June with him. So buy your tickets. They go up $10 the day of the event, so get them in advance. And of course, as promised, I've mentioned in the past information on our viewing parties, the tailgate party. Applications for the cornhole tournament are open. If you're interested in that on Saturday, June 22nd, you can check it out at renorodeo.com. And the nightly viewing party is just a $10 admissions ticket. So if you don't have tickets to your favorite night of the performance and you want to dress up in your pink or your patriotic or your Coors or any of the theme nights that we have, which you can find on our website, you can still plan your event coming down to the Reno Rodeo grounds and spending the evening with us inside the indoor arena vendor Double R Marketplace. You can do your shopping, drink with our concessions, eat the kick-ass fries, and watch the rodeo from the comfort of a seat indoors. So all of the things happening in June, we hope you have planned out your week. And if you haven't, next month on Reno Rodeo 365, we will take a deep dive into how to make the most of your 10 days of Reno Rodeo. That's it for now, folks. We can't wait to see you next time on Reno Rodeo 365.